I guess I'll let the audience kind of know a little bit about our background, how we met, and we kind of, talked a little bit, in pieces, but to kind of give them a little bit better picture. So we met. I want to say it was 2002, 2003. Might have been '03, but
I had just gotten my medium custody. I'd always been max custody.
yeah,
But I got my medium custody in about 2001, 2002. And I remember the first time I seen you were we were both part of two different groups.
yeah, two different circles, right?
Right. Two different circles. Yours was, I remember you guys were all the big power lifters. You were the big guys,
Yeah.
like the big, I remember my first impression of you, anytime I ever thought of you and your name was, I remember your legs.
Yeah,
They were huge. And I remember looking at the bar. You had the bar bent like this.
yeah,
There was so much weight on each side. And I'm thinking like, oh my God, I've never seen anything like that.
Yeah.
That's a powerful man. I thought I was strong,
yeah,
but you guys were on a whole different level. You guys, I think the circles you guys ran in, you guys were just mostly just minding your business, doing your
Yeah.
time, working out, just, you may even had a private industry job, I think.
yeah. Had a private industry job,
And I ran in a circle, man, that was
completely different, right?
completely different. We were extorting people, robbing, committing crimes in there every day, just, so we were on two different paths.
Well, I remember. So I think the reason we even intersected and met each other or had an interaction, it has something to do with working out. I remember talking to you briefly about a workout, or maybe, hey, maybe try this or this. I think you were, asking me about, how can I improve something, and I remember that was probably about I don't know the extent of it. And then from then on, it might have been, just acknowledgement, like, we passed each other, whatever, what's up. But I don't ever remember having like a friendship with you or whatever. But I do remember your reputation as a tattoo artist, like preceding you, like, hey man, if you can ever get Louis to do work on you, that's who you want if you want some work done. And for whatever reason, never could get that really lined up, or maybe it just wasn't a priority to me at the time. But tattooing wasn't really in my mind. It was kind of the past. But I don't know. One day I thought, hey, I'm gonna get some. I think I'm gonna get some work done. And as I thought about it, I was like, I didn't have to even think who I'd want to do it. If I get some done, this is who I want to do it. And so it's kind of interesting. So it comes full circle, 20 years later or thereabouts, just from a little short interaction, maybe a few times to, message you on Instagram and say, hey man, I want to get some work done. And you're like, bro, dude, come to the shop. I'll get you in, whatever. And a few months later,
Yeah.
got all this done. Man, it's just, I'm really proud of it. It did really good work. This is the newest stuff. It's kind of peeling right now, but
It's healing right now.
it's coming out to be fantastic. And plus, our time at the shop together has been, man, being able to catch up. And then, you and I, we're seeing life from, on the other side of the fence or the wall or however you want to describe it. So we're getting to share our experiences and, from, we obviously have that past that where we met, but, being able to be in a different environment, talk about what we're doing, where we want to go, and enjoying the ride, enjoying the experience along the way, and what that means. And it's been fantastic. It's been a fantastic experience for me,
Life's
more
been
than I
amazing.
actually thought it was going to be, Louis. To be honest with you, coming down to your shop, that was like, okay, I'm going to get some tattoo work done, and I'm going to get some good tattoos. I knew that, but I was kind of surprised about the additional experience of, catching up with you and what you got going on and, what I got going on. And man, that has been very, very rewarding and
You know,
surprising.
I was always I was 1,000% into everything I did, except everything that I knew at that point was just, I was a criminal.
Yeah.
And I'll hit on that for a second, because a lot of people in the audience might be like, well, what's this attraction to this criminality? Why is it so important that there's so many people? There's over 2 million people locked up for, being criminals and stuff. What's the attraction? The attraction to me was just like one of my friends told me, he said, we don't have to lie to no one. that's one of the things that coming out here, I had to learn how to lie a little bit, you know, and I never understood that because that was always such a bad thing. My friend told me, he said, you don't have to lie to no one. He said, if you lie to someone, that means you're scared of them.
Yes, right.
He said, and you're scared of what their reaction will be. You're scared of what their answer to you, how they view you.
Mm-hmm.
He said, we're criminals. We don't care what nobody thinks. We make our own rules. We bend our will. And if someone doesn't come and bend to our will, we make them bend to our will because we run this show. And I remember hearing that going like, oh, man.
So it was kind of a form of empowerment.
And yeah, I was like, oh, man, that's what I want. I'll take what I want. And I remember there was another thing, even though it's twisted thinking, my friend said, we don't do no thieving around here. He said, only a coward does some thieving. He said, if you want something from someone, you go take it from them right to their face.
Right.
He said, that's what a man does. And I remember thinking like, oh, man, that's a real man right there. You know, like that's what I want, you know, and but this was all the man that I was learning from.
Right.
I was learning all these things from all this man. And the more I did, the more people were like, man, give me attaboys, claps on the back. And like, man, that dude's, anytime people would say anything about, man, that guy's a real soldier. That guy has no fear. He's all man. And it just, I didn't have anyone there at that time in my life to keep me accountable or teach any different. And living that life, I had results. I had everything I wanted. I just take whatever I wanted and I seen results, and that was the attraction, that power of having that, you know.
Sure.
But what I didn't realize, I remember I talked to another friend. This was years later, but I remember I was coming up, and he made a weird face, and I talked to him by himself later. I was like, "Man, why'd you make that face?" He said, "Oh man, because you were coming around," and I was like, "What?" I didn't want to be that kind of person. You know, when I come around, people are like, oh, man.
Would they have a negative physical reaction?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I didn't want to be that person.
Right.
Guys were scared of me. Guys were intimidated. You know, oh, man, we're going to have to go on a mission. We're going to have to go rob someone. We're going to have to go do something. When I came around, it was always negative.
Yeah.
And I remember I was like, man, I'm that person.
Yeah.
And I started feeling embarrassed about that. Like my friends weren't really my friends. I didn't want to be that person no more.
It was actually good for you to kind of see that, you know, hey, all the things that you'd learned up to that point, or maybe not all the things, but some of the things you learned up to that point, how to be a man or how to become an adult man in prison. It has some results, as you say, that made you feel kind of good on one end, but this was something different, wasn't it? It was something that like, hey, maybe this isn't so good.
But anything that was good was always viewed as weakness.
As soft, right?
Yeah. You know, so you never wanted to be viewed as soft.
Right.
Anytime someone's viewed as soft, and you know, you don't get respect from the other people, and that's when you become victimized in there.
Yeah, become a target,
right?
Potential target, right?
And I'm telling you, you know, I don't have to tell you, it can get really bad.
It's definitely a tough world to navigate for sure. To be able to have good morals and walk through that experience, because it is not easy. I know that from personal experience.
It's not always physical.
No.
A lot of it's mental.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and one of the things, if you love people out here, if you care about people and you're away, a lot of the mental is just like, man, what did I do?
Yeah.
I caused all this, you know, and it'll wear on you. So what I had to do to battle that was I started having to start building my successes in there, going to classes. You know, one of the things that I hear people say a lot is that, oh, prisons are bad. They're not there to, you know, they don't work. The prison system's broke. And I agree. I really believe there's
a lot of flaws. Mm-hmm. I mean, sure.
But every tool, every resource you need to become rehabilitated is in there. If you want it, it's in there. They have libraries, they have programs where you can become rehabilitated. But what I tell people is this: the majority of the guys in there don't want to change.
No, they don't. They don't see a need for change.
They have a lot of them have drug issues, anger issues, and a lot of them, it's unfortunate, but a lot of their loved ones enable them.
Yeah.
And they continue. They know if I get in trouble, I'll just come here to prison and I can get high because there's drugs are rampant in here, cell phones. I can get into a gang and commit more crimes in here, and there's no accountability really, you know, and then you get that reinforcement from everyone around you too.
Right.
So
the environment feeds that, right? Yeah.
So I think that's why I think the attraction between you and I out here right now is so important, because we've been through that.
Yeah.
And we found a way to not let that rot our brain, and we came out here and we're actually doing something with our lives.
That's definitely the case. And I think that's why we have a strong connection, because we're not on the same path, but we're kind of on the same path, or at least in a similar direction, right?
Yeah, I think we both have a passion for wanting to help people, for wanting to redeem ourselves with our family, our communities, with me personally, with God. I'm 48 right now. I'm a lot closer to it's almost over than I got a whole lot of time to make this right.
Yeah.
And if all this stuff is true, that at the end, you know, we meet our maker, well, I got a lot of work to do.
Yeah.
I have a lot of work to do, man. You know, and I'm ready. I'm ready for that challenge, whatever comes. You know, one of the things that makes me proud, I get emotional.
Yeah. It's
with my business.
Yeah.
This is something my wife and I built, and people are really touched by it.
Yeah.
You know, and it's not criminals. It's not my homies. It's not gangsters. It's not none of, it's just normal, everyday people.
Right.
Moms, daughters, grandparents,
Yeah.
kids. You know, we have people of all ages that come to our shop.
Yeah.
You know, and the way we've been able to impact people's lives, the way we continue to do so.
It's a good feeling, isn't it? It has some redemptive value, doesn't it? Kind of like.
Very much so. You know, and again, my wife helps me throughout all this stuff. Everyone always tells me, man, you can go. You can tattoo 7 days a week. And I see you. He said, every time, he said, I'll go to work. He said, you're there. He said, I'll do my 8 to 10 hour shift. I'll come out and you're still there.
Yeah.
You know, but success is measured differently by different people.
Sure.
I have friends that success, you know what, just staying out of prison, that's a success in itself. Keeping a job, staying out here, being a good dad, that's a success, man.
Yep.
You know,
Absolutely.
and I try to tell the guys that, I mean, you kept your job for a year, bro. That's a success. You've never done that before.
Yeah.
You know, don't overlook that as that not being a success. That's all stuff to motivate you, to keep you going. Some people just don't know how to recognize that.
I think that's a good point. I think there's a lot of people that are, you know, making progress with success in their lives. It might seem like it might not seem like it to them, or it might seem like, well, I'm not really doing much. But you're absolutely right. I mean, we got to count our wins just like we count our losses, you know. Yep. So I want you to talk about your experience with your shop now, like the kind of things that you do. Obviously, you get to live your passion. You get to put tattoos on people from, you know, and all those things, which is great because you love doing that, right? But I guess I want you to talk about, you know, you've mentioned to me about how you do things for the community, and I want you to talk about how you do that, like just some of the things you do to give back and, you know, help others, you know, that are struggling or at least want to try to make forward progress in their lives.
One of the things that we do is we like to do lives, and a lot of times I like to go into their businesses and.
So when you say live, like a live video,
like live Facebook, and you know, just real quick, when I went to prison in 1992. I got arrested in 1991, and then I went through all the court and all that stuff, and I finally made it to RDU in 1992. But when I went to prison, there was no such thing as the internet. There was no social media, nothing like that. It was still 25-cent payphones, and so I came out here and I learned about social media. And I remember I asked my wife, I said, "This stuff is free?" And she was like, "I couldn't believe it." So I'm still learning social media. I didn't grasp it at all, but what I did understand is that gives you a voice, and if people find you interesting enough, they'll listen.
Yeah,
you know, and thankfully they find us interesting enough to where we can. The way we help other people out is we can do a live on Facebook or Instagram. That's the ones I'm on. Those are the only ones I know. But we'll do lives, and, you know, we'll just start mentioning what the people's business is about, you know, if they're starting up, any stuff like that, you know.
Kind of help promote them a little bit, right?
Right. And, you know, just in any way we can. Sometimes, you know, my wife's so amazing at helping people, and one of her passions, too, is the rescuing animals. So a lot of the community comes and gets behind us when it comes time to rescue, you know, and it's just so amazing, all the things that people bring and the people donate, and we don't ever ask nobody for anything. Everything comes straight out of my pocket. All the animals we rescue, like, we don't ask help from anyone, but just the community that comes man, we got guys and females too that come up to the shop, just bags of treats and bags
Yeah.
of dog food. Just like, oh, they know our dogs by first names.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
And it's just through videos and stuff, you know. And so we've realized that social media can be an important tool to help people.
Absolutely.
And I think that's the route we want to take. You know,
Yeah.
any kind of negativity, we just cut it off right at the butt.
Right,
I've dealt
right.
with that all my life.
Yeah.
You know, so now it's just like whatever, you know, I don't know how much time I have left here on this earth, but whatever time I have left here, it's going to be utilized helping people, impacting lives, doing stuff for our community. And
Making it count.
absolutely.
Make your time count.
And Hutchinson, I live in Hutchinson, Kansas, and it's been such an amazing town. You know, think about it. My whole life, I was a violent criminal.
Yeah.
I was a straight up criminal, and I lived by that code.
Live the
to a
criminal
T.
life, right?
Validated gang member. I served a life sentence in prison. Had no jobs. My sophomore year in high school, I ended up going to prison with a life sentence. 0 job skills. And I came out and I moved into the city of Hutchinson. And again, not that they were able to, not that they just completely like just forgave me or anything, but they gave me an honest chance.
Gave you an opportunity.
Absolutely. And they've supported us. They've been there with us, and it makes me love this community so much. You know,
That's really good, Louis.
they're good to us.
Yeah.
You know, I get to live the kind of life I want to live.
Yeah.
I don't have the biggest property, but I have a really nice property.
Yeah.
You know, my animals are all comfortable. My kids, they love our home. I love being at home. I got miniature horses, miniature donkeys, and miniature
wow.
goats and stuff. And I'll go out and look at them, and I'll be like, man, I was just in this little 8x10 cell for 25 years.
Yeah.
And now look what we've been able to do
Yeah.
in just a short amount of time. Just a
Yeah.
very short amount of time.
If that's not a success story, I don't know what is, but that is really, really, really great.
This community, like, if I know sounds cliche, but if it wasn't for them coming to support me and my passion, then I wouldn't get to live the kind of life I live. Yeah. So for me, you know, giving back and helping the community and you know, it's a way of saying thank you.
I'm proud of you. I'm proud that you've, man, from where you've come from, and, you know, like I said before, dealt, you know, a pretty bad hand.
What really set in with me was I reversed the roles.
Yeah.
I said, would I give someone a chance with my background?
Yeah.
And honestly, man, I don't know if I would.
Be something to think about for sure, wouldn't it?
Yeah, and for them to give me that chance, I don't want to mess it up.
Yeah.
You know, I've never had this before, and I'll be damned if I'm going to let this go.
Yeah.
You know, the trust that people feel, like for the first time in my life, I feel human.
Yeah.
Like if I say something, people will listen.
Like it matters.
And they believe, it matters. People believe me. They trust in me. And I know I have a big responsibility because a lot of people are watching.
That's right.
And
that's right.
You know, integrity is big for me. I never knew what integrity was. I had a man named Pete Oakes teach me what the word integrity meant.
Right.
You know, and I thought integrity was just not snitching on somebody when I was called on to smash somebody to go do it. You know, when I was called on to take care of a debt or something, to me, that was integrity. I didn't even have to be told. I just go do it. Oh, man, that guy's solid. No.
Not any of those things, is it?
None of those things. That's all just stupid.
It's a distorted, warped view of
integrity.
of integrity or of some kind of valuable principle.
Yeah. And once I learned what integrity was, it floored me because, you know, integrity to me, well, I guess the meaning of integrity is it's what you do and how you respond when no one's looking.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, and I remember I was just like, when I heard that, I was like, whoa.
Yep.
Would you leave that $100 bill there?
Yeah.
This woman's over here, the most gorgeous woman on earth, and she's willing to do any and everything to please you. No one will ever find out. Would you do it?
Right.
You know, integrity is doing the right thing.
Doing the right thing just for the sake of doing the right thing. Absolutely. There's no reward.
I never had that before.
Yeah.
You know, never. And doing that, knowing that I'm that kind of person that for myself, that I have integrity, it makes me feel good about myself.
That is really powerful. And I'm happy that you've, I guess, seen that, welcomed that into your life, and have just been running, you know, full speed ahead with that, because I bet the positive feelings you felt in your life the last few years, or whenever you started changing course, I bet it completely overshadows anything that you interpreted as positive coming from a negative lifestyle. back when you thought, hey, I'm doing the right thing. This is feeling good. I'm thriving in prison. And I bet this life completely just blows that away.
Man, I tell you what, it was so crazy because I literally, especially in my last 5 years in prison, I felt like I was suffocating.
Yeah.
I hated it in there. Have you ever heard that song from Radiohead? I'm a creep.
Yeah, creep.
I'm a weirdo.
Yeah.
I don't belong here.
Yep.
When I would hear that song playing on the prison radio, like on the loudspeakers that they have, I literally felt like that song.
Felt out of place
Out
because
of
you were
place.
out of place, Louis.
I didn't belong there no more.
You didn't
mentally.
belong there no more. You were a different person in a strange place that was meant for somebody else.
I remember like my life went from absolute shit and literally to the very next day. It was just an amazing thing. And it's never went back to that. Like even my worst day out here has still been better than my best day in there. I want to tell you this story. Hopefully it won't be too inappropriate, but my wife tells me I have PTSD from this life sentence. I think the recognizable PTSD that I do have is like in my dreams. I have a lot of dreams that I'm going back to prison or like I'm on the bus on my way back. Yeah. I'll tell you one dream in particular. I had a dream that I was in a prison cell. I was already in there, and I remember like it felt so real. I was like, in the dream I said, man, I gotta make some money. I gotta make some phone minute time so I can call Melissa, let her know where I'm at. And I remember a friend, this Mexican guy, come up to me in my dream, and he hands me a sack of weed. He says, "Here you go." So in there, when they hand you a sack of weed, that's like you can do whatever you want with it.
It's currency, right? Or
currency,
at least the ability to turn it to currency.
Yeah. In my dream, I remember thinking, okay, I can make this much off of this. And I remember in my dream, I went to my cell and I looked to the right. And this how you know how far-fetched it is. All the gangs, the blacks, the whites, the Mexicans, the natives, they were all standing in a big group there. And they all knew I had this sack of weed in my dream, and they all wanted it. Yeah. And I looked to the opposite side, and it was all the black suits, the SWAT team in there. And they all knew I had this sack of weed, and they wanted it. Now, realistically, if they even suspected I had a sack of weed, they'd just run in on me.
Right.
And, But in this dream, it felt so real. Like my door started coming open, and I woke up, and my room was pitch black. But I remember thinking like, oh, man, I'm back in prison. I reached over, and I felt my wife's breast. And it wasn't anything sexual.
Right.
It was absolute relief.
Right.
That I was free. I knew it was just a dream then. Yeah. I was like, oh. Whew.
Yeah.
But that's the kind of PTSD I have.
Yeah.
Like just mostly dreams. So when I'm awake, it's like if I work hard, if I do everything I'm supposed to do, those are just dreams. It's not going to happen. Right. This is my life now, and this is what I'm going to do. And I've gotten through every worst obstacle you think you can imagine.
Yeah.
A dream's not going to stop me.
That's absolutely right. I believe
they
that.
Suck.
Yeah.
They suck. Yeah, they suck a lot. I don't like having them because they do seem very real.
Sure.
But I wake up, I kiss my wife, I feed my outside animals, and life goes back to normal again. Yeah. And I don't dwell on that.
Absolutely.
And I have a lot of friends that do dwell on stuff like that, and they struggle.
Yeah.
And I'm just very grateful, very thankful for my wife, very thankful for God, my family, and my community, that they inspire me to just keep going. That's another thing that I think that my PTSD, like if a cop gets behind me, I don't have anything on me, I'm not doing anything illegal, I just instantly get scared, God, I'm going back to prison.
That past experience, creeping up.
But we're working on all that stuff, it's starting to be less and less now, but it's still there. We're still working on it. This is stuff that there's a lot of guys in our same shoes that we're in. All they known is prison all their life, and they get out here, and there's no classes you can take. There's no courses. There's nothing online that you could look up to help you with any of this stuff.
Yeah,
you can go to any therapist, but what therapist has been what we've been through?
Yeah,
they don't know that. They don't know any of this stuff. And usually like when people are in situations where they're taken away, like kidnapped or something, they go through a completely different thing. Our stuff is we were in an environment where, you just got constant negativity from all angles.
Yeah.
And it's easy to fall into that.
Yep.
It's easy to just, you know what, this is easy. It works. You know,
Well, I would go so far as to say that it's difficult not to. In other words, it becomes so natural
yeah.
that you don't even realize you're changing because it's so subtle.
Mm-hmm.
And before you know it, you're moving and shaking and walking in a world that, one, isn't very good, and that's putting it lightly.
Yeah.
But two, you don't even realize half of what happened to you because it happens on such a subconscious level that you do that it's a survival instinct, I believe. You want to fit in the environment that you're in. But I think the thing is, I think the catch is, or the question is, how well do you want to fit in? If you fit in too well, you won't fit in. You're no longer good for the world outside.
Right.
If you don't fit in at all, you might be a victim. Yeah. So that's why when I was talking earlier, it's a very, very tough world to navigate with morals, because that's a world that's void of any kind of good moral or principles. It's not encouraged in there, like you were saying. To do wrong, to make the wrong choices, that stuff's reinforced. And pretty soon it produces people that, man, just aren't no good.
I tell you what, one of the things, at least for me, and I'm maybe I can say this for a lot of men that are in our situation, one of the biggest things for men is we're whether we want to accept it or not, we're very susceptible to peer pressure amongst men that we respect or fear or admire or revere.
Mm-hmm.
One of the things that I remember, one of my friends told me, he said, I was watching a guy get tortured by one of the guys that ran with us. He was torturing a child molester.
Yeah.
And I must have been making faces, like cringing faces. And he grabbed me by the back of my neck and he squeezed it real hard. He said, "You feel sorry for that piece of shit?" And I was scared, like, no. But he told me what that guy was in there for.
Yeah.
And it was pretty brutal. It was really ugly.
Stuff.
Yeah, it was really ugly. And when he told me that, I remember I felt anger. Like I wanted to be in there stomping that guy for what he did to that child.
Yeah.
And he told me like this, and I understood it very clearly. He said, "Understand this." He said, "We're predators around here. We're not prey."
Right.
He said, "That's what happens to prey." He said, "The day you turn into prey, that's what's going to happen to you."
Yeah.
And I understood that very clearly that day, that I was never going to be prey.
Right.
I will always be the predator, because I'm not going to be a victim like that.
Right.
And you take on that mentality. You start, everyone I looked up to was all gangsters. They were killers. In prison, this is what's crazy. The most respected inmate is the killer.
Mm-hmm.
Top tier. That's the top of the chain, food predator, and that's it in prison.
Yeah.
And if you commit violent acts while you're in prison, then you really and you have that as your background.
You reinforce that.
Absolutely.
Yep.
And people know to stay out of your way. There was one guy, for instance, he's passed away now, but everyone knew this about this guy. He wasn't big, he wasn't buff. He was a tall, skinny guy, but he'll kill you. He will murder you.
Yep.
And everyone respected him for that. Everyone feared him for that. And in there in prison, like I said, I started taking, these guys that everyone respected and feared and admired. And I did the same thing too. This is who everyone looks up to. These are the guys that get all the action. This is who I want to be like. These are the guys that are staying alive. That's the guys I want to be.
Yeah.
They're not getting tortured. They're the ones doing it.
Yeah.
So my mentality is I wanted to be with that. And I think there was another situation that really started making me look at things different. To this point, I always hated cops. I was anti-cop.
Yeah.
But there was this Mexican guy came in and everyone was introducing him. And he was really popular, buff, bald head, tattoos. And one of the guys said, well, we were out on the yard, and he said, "Hey, man, why don't you tell him what you're here for?" And this guy ran with the cartels. All right. When he was outside and he was trafficking drugs, he said he got pulled over by a cop. And in that life, there is no, "Oh man, I got pulled over. I lost the drugs," or any of that,
Right.
And there it's like, then why are you still alive?
Yeah.
You lost my stuff. Then why are you alive?
Yeah.
That's the mentality. Like, you're not going to, he said, when this cop came up to him, he didn't give this cop, he just blasted him. Boom, 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 and just killed him. And everyone there that he was telling the story to started hooting and hollering. I seen the looks in their eyes.
Yeah.
I remember I looked at everyone, and I don't know why it hit me, because I was full-blown criminal at this time.
Yeah.
But something in my head made me think like, man, would I trust these guys around my mom?
Yeah.
Would I trust these guys? Like, this dude's a straight up killer. There was zero reason to kill this cop. Even though I didn't like cops at the time. I thought cops were evil. I was just thinking, what? And everybody, if you've seen the look in their eyes that day, I mean, these were my friends. These were guys that I would risk my parole for, that I would risk my life, that I would take someone's life for. These are guys that I would do all this for. And I looked at their eyes and I'm thinking like, what am I doing?
So something flashed through your mind that they were celebrating something that wasn't a good thing to be celebrating.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Even though, like I said, I didn't like cops and I thought cops were very evil at that time in my life, something was wrong with that.
Yeah.
You know, because I also understood this. So if my mom or my wife is getting victimized, someone's going to attack them, who are you going to call?
Yeah. The gang members ain't going to go help them. You can't call them.
No.
You come to understand, and I know I have, and I know people that have done a lot of time. It's real easy to be in that world and get caught up in the mentality of us versus them. And it's hard to step out of that and look at it objectively. But, you know, because I've had some negative interactions with law enforcement or in their correction officers. I know you have too. And the truth of it is our decisions led us there. And somebody's got to babysit. Somebody's got to, do that job. Some people don't do that job very well. Some do that job pretty good. And I think we take the ones that don't do the job very well, and that just, that morphs into all the more reason to not like them. But at the end of the day, law enforcement's necessary. I mean, we can't have a world of chaos out here, So
I'll tell you a quick story real quick. I tattoo on a lot of police officers there in our town. I have one in particular, like, I'm not going to put his name out there. He's a super cool guy, man. I really like this guy a lot, man.
Yeah.
I tattoo on him. We like to do a lot of fishing and stuff, and we're both into that. We've shared a lot of times, doing stuff like that. And he's a cop. I never thought, but he came into me and he told me this one day. He said, Louis, he said, I just want you to know this. He said, and again, I want the audience to I'm emphasizing, I'm not saying any of this to be anti-cop. I'm telling this cop here, I'm telling you, he's an amazing person and super awesome. But he told me like this. He said, someone had made a comment about me, and then he told me, I need to tell you this. He said, no matter what you do, he said, there's always going to be people on my side that are never going to, no matter what, they're never going to believe you. You're always just a criminal. You're always that. But he told me like this. He said, keep doing what you're doing. Prove them wrong.
Absolutely.
He said, I believe in you. He said, a lot of us here on this force believe in you. He said, just keep doing what you're. He didn't say, don't fuck it up. Don't mess up. He just said, I believe in you.
Yeah.
And I was like, what the?
Yeah.
Again, I never heard that. But I know that there's still people on the force that don't like me.
Right.
But there's people on there that still do believe on me.
Well, you've made a difference. And, not everybody's, opinion's going to change. And, that's just the way it is. Not everybody's going to buy into someone doing something good, turning their life around. But that doesn't matter. It's not stopping you, is it?
It's integrity, man. I just keep going,
Keep going.
Want me to tell you one of my, it's not the biggest one, but it's one of my deterrents to not messing up, to not going back to prison. I'll tell you the other two, but one of them is this. I never want to give any CO or any inmate or anyone any satisfaction of me walking down that run with my bedroll on a parole violation. You know what everyone's going to say? I've achieved so many heights already since I've been out. I will never give anyone the satisfaction of saying, I knew he was full of shit.
Yeah.
I knew it was all a lie.
It'd make all that hard work seem like it's for nothing, wouldn't it?
For nothing. I've done that before many times.
Yeah.
In prison, I messed up so many times, bro.
Yeah.
I messed up so much. And I remember thinking like, I'm never going to get it right.
Yeah.
I'm never going to get it right. I'm just a loser like everyone says.
Yeah.
But then I got this chance.
Man.
And being out here has been the easiest thing I've ever done. It's not hard.
Well, when things are fun, it feels easy, doesn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, it is hard work, but you don't feel the hard work part of it because your passion is driving you. At least that's how I see it. It's like I know some of the things that I pursue are they're not necessarily always easy, but man, when you're enjoying it, it's a whole different ride.
Oh man,
And
I can't believe I get to wake up every day. This is my life. All right, every day I wake up, no matter what, 5:45. I got outside animals. That's a 7-day a week job. You got to clean the pens, you got to feed them, you got to do all that stuff. So there's no taking a day off.
right.
I get up 5:45. I feed my animals, and when it's not cold, I'll go fishing every day. Get on my kayak, get on the rivers and creeks there around my house, and just go fishing. Get back, go home, get my breakfast. Sometimes I get me some. Sometimes I don't.
Yeah.
I go to work with my dogs. Then I get to tattoo on people every day. I get to impact lives. My family comes and sees me, and I think what I'm so grateful about is that I have a lot of clients that come in and tell me about their days. They work 9-to-5 jobs, and some of them are so miserable, so frustrated. Coworkers, dress codes, rules, and this and that. And I sit there and I listen to them, and I'm thinking like, oh God, thank you so much for for what I get to do every day.
Yeah.
Then my job there becomes to, what? Your life, you're on my table now. You're telling me all this. My job now is for the rest of the time you're here, I'm going to make you feel good, and I'm going to put some awesome artwork on you to give you a little self-confidence. We're going to change that right now.
So give them a good experience,
Absolutely. Right? I'm going to, hopefully with the things that I tell you and with my artwork, I'm going to inspire you to get up and do something.
Yeah.
Even if it's something small.
Absolutely.
My platform is like, I can inspire people. I can motivate people. And that's what it's all about. I get to go do this. And if I'm too far gone from home, like sometimes I'm there at my job 12 to 16 hours a day.
Yeah.
Because I'm not at a regular 9-to-5, my family can come to me.
Yeah.
My grandkids are there at the shop with me. I don't know if you've seen that when you've been there getting tattooed.
When I've been in your shop, that's happened, at least a couple times that I remember.
Once they get to missing me, if I'm far, if I'm gone too far from home, my family will come see me at work, hang out with me. My little granddaughter, she's 21 months old, man.
Yeah.
She already knows how to pick up and turn on a tattoo machine, and and she's just an amazing little lady, man. And like, I can't believe this is my life. I can't believe it.
That is really awesome. That's really a huge blessing.
It is.
So, I guess to kind of sum up, you've really taken your negative experience from your past, or culmination of negative experiences, and there was flipped a switch somewhere in the middle of that, and got on a path of, hey, I want something different. I want a different life. I want to feel something different, because all that stuff wasn't really working for you, at least on the inside. It was churning, but it wasn't really giving you the results. And here you are out here, living what was just an idea probably years ago. Maybe you didn't have all the details, but you just knew you were going to do something positive with your skill set, the things that you learned in a negative environment. You come out here, and now it's impacting lives, as you say, one tattoo at a time. And I believe that, man, that is a fantastic success story. It's a fantastic turnaround, and man, I got nothing but respect for you, Louis.
There's no excuse for failure, man.
There really isn't. There's no excuse for failure. And I guess failure can, people like to define, or I say like to define, but as you said, success can be measured in different ways, and our failures can be measured in different ways too.
We need them.
We need them because they're valuable learning tools, and if we'll look, I believe they teach us a whole lot about ourselves and how to go forward, the next step forward.
I have this saying that I love, and it's like, I got a million no's before I got my one yes.
That's right.
But with that one yes made me appreciate it a lot more. Absolutely.
And what's that saying? A chess game isn't won by all forward moves. Sometimes you got to move back to move forward. That's something that really stood out to me.
For your audience, I never thought my business would be this kind of business. Like, we're literally impacting lives. Just read our reviews. I'll tell you this. I'm going to tell you this funny story. I made it to work release, and they let me go to Walmart so that I wouldn't be overwhelmed the first time I went. Because it'd been 3 decades since I'd been to it. So I get there, and all of a sudden, I'm looking around. All of a sudden, I hear someone yelling. A lot of people call me Sanjo because I'm
Yeah.
from San Jose,
Yeah.
California. I heard someone, Sanjo, Sanjo, and I turned around and I looked and I seen a guy I knew from prison, and he just yelled at full blast, "I can't believe they let you out. I
Yeah.
can't." And everyone at Walmart turned around, and looked at me, and I'm feeling like I'm Hannibal Lecter or something.
I bet you were.
But he didn't mean it like that.
Right.
He knew I was in for a life sentence, and he couldn't believe that I was out here.
Yeah.
And he said, "Oh my!" The first thing he said is, "Please let me be the first one to get tattooed."
Yeah.
So it's always been a part of my life, and I didn't even realize it, but I've been impacting lives since prison.
That is an amazing story, Louis, and again, I can't even really express how proud I am of you and what you're
Proud
doing.
of you too, brother.
And
It's only
that
the
is-
beginning.
You got a really good story, and what's really great to think about is you're still holding the pen. The story's not over.
It's not over. It's only the beginning.